All right, searched and searched online for a bracket system for the truck rails that was cover friendly for my top. There's only a few companies out there that I can find that commercially made brackets without having to go down and get a custom bracket made. And the one I found was Billie Bars, if I get wouldn't mess with the truck here and the cover that I had. So let's break this open and take a look at what we got. Let me get this out and spread out so we can see it better. Alright, so inside the box I found 4 brackets, nicely packaged, so they wouldn't get scratched or dinged. And I can tell just by the look at that they are solidly built. Oh my goodness. So that's the part that goes on the edge of the bed, and this goes down inside the bed. The cover sits on there right there. So I'll be able to have the cover and the bracket and rails installed all at the same time. So I'm pretty excited about that. Also in the packaging was their logo there, and then it looks like an installation guide video. And of course we got the rails. Looks like they're a good heavy duty rail. Got the slots in there so you can get your brackets in there for your rooftop tent or whatever you might mount on these bars, like a mountain bike or something, canoe or whatever. Looks like we got hardware here. Alright, so we got the C-clamps that go on the back side of the brackets that clamp to the truck bed, and then the bolts and lock washers to attach it. Alright, let's get this put together. Alright, time to get these brackets on. They're going to sit on like there and over here. I'm not sure left to right or how far forward or back they need to go until I look at the instructions. So I'm going to get those stationed where I think they need to be, but I got to pull this cover back so I can get access to get these inside and get them mounted right. Held on there, I got these little clamps. Pull that out and you release the tension, and then there's this that slides in there to hold your bracket, and that allows you to lift that cover. You do that on all 6. So there's one midway, one in the front, and then 3 on this side. So I'm going to get those pulled off so I have full access to the bed rails so that I can get the rack in place with the brackets. Alright, I did a preliminary check on the brackets and the rails, checked for lengths. I custom ordered it for this truck specifically. I was kind of surprised to see that one of the rails was longer than the other, so it's very apparent that it matters where the bracket sits on the truck in relation to the length of the bar, because the bar length changes as it gets longer as it gets closer to the cab of the truck, and narrower or shorter as it gets towards the tailgate of the truck. So that's why they got the install video. I'm going to take a quick look at that so I make sure I know what I'm doing before I proceed any further. Alright, video watched. I didn't see anything that had an indicator on how far forward or back the rails need to be. So it just comes simply down to math. You got to measure the distance between the bed edges and measure the bracket, and just you have to slide it forward or back until it hits that sweet spot. So I'm going to do that now. I'll show you how I'm going to do that. I'm going to get this cover the rest of the way off and get that measured. Alright, got the truck topper removed. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to assemble these brackets to the rails first, and then I'm going to set them on the truck intact and slide them forward or back until they fit like they're supposed to fit with the measurement that they came from the factory on. I'm going to try that method first, and then we'll fine-tune it from there. So these rails, they come pre-threaded. and the hardware's there. So we'll bolt those on to the brackets first. All right, I want to do the cab side rail first, which is the longer of the two bars. So I'm going to measure these bars to find out which one's longer. This one's 73¼ inches, while this one is 71 7/8 inches. So this is the longer one. So we're going to use it first. We'll get it out of the sleeve and get it prepped for the bracket here. I'm just going to set the bracket down. Get that bar on there like that. Okay, and what it says to do in the instructions is to use the security screw, I think is what they call it. And you need to put on the lock washer first, and then the flat washer. And you're going to use that setup. Alright, so there's the security bolt. There's the lock washer right there, and the flat washer. That's what we're using for those bars to the bracket attachment. So I'm going to loosely fit that in right now. This one here, finger tight. I'm going to do that all the way around. And you'll see that there's this special thing on the end of that bolt. It takes a special kind of Allen wrench to tighten it. Alright, I'm just going to snug tight these bolts. I don't want to tighten them fully until I get it all in place. Get that Billie Bar in there. Let's get it in there where I think it needs to go, and then we'll check it. You can see that there is a little bit of a gap right here. Yeah, got to get rid of that gap there. So we need to slide it forward until that gap is tight. Alright, I also got to be mindful of the cover that I'm going to put back on there in this clamp. So when I measure from the cab out to place the bracket, I'll also measure here and make sure that I don't interfere with this. Alright, this is the cab side of the cover. So I'm going to measure from there to my my clamp for the cover, and make sure I know where that is. So it looks like that clamp is going from 11.5 to 14 inches roughly. I want to make sure that that bracket on the truck, that bracket right there, is not in the way of that. Alright, I know that from the end of that cover into my bracket underneath to hold the cover, it's 11.5 to 14.5. So I want to mark that. So I want to make sure that this bracket for the Billie Bar doesn't interfere with it. But I'm going to double check the measurement here with the width of the bed to make sure it matches up. Alright, so the way I'm going to do that, I'm going to measure the overall length from there to there. I got 73 3/4. Okay, now that I know the length of the Billie Bar and the bracket, I need to be able to deduct the bracket. So I'm going to measure from there to where that bracket goes down, right here. Measure that distance, and that's 4.5 inches. I need to do that twice. I need to deduct both sides. That's 9 inches. So 9 inches from my 73 3/4 that I had, minus the 9 inches, puts me at 64 3/4. That's the distance that I need to have between my bed flanges to the proper location of the Billie Bar. So I want to put my tape measure there, and I want to be 64 3/4. Alright, so I got my mark there signifying the edge of the bracket for the tonneau cover that goes right there. So I want to make sure this bracket's out of the way of that. And I want to also make sure that I'm the proper width from there across to there. So I'm going to double check that before I bolt it down. And I'm right where I need to be, so I can bolt those brackets down right there. Okay, I don't like to do things twice, so this measurement that I had for the tonneau cover bracket was 11.5 and 14.5. So I made a mark here, and then I also measured from here to there, and I did that on both sides to make sure that it's parallel, and then I also double checked it by measuring from there all the way to the truck hole there, and I did that on both sides to make sure it was the same, like this. And when I do that, I was at 52 and 5/16. I do the same on this side. 52 and 5/6 or 3/8. It's really close. We have this C-clamp we got to use to attach it. We need to put the long L part on the bottom, and it's going to go up underneath, and it's going to hook the lip up there and bolt to that like that. You got to put a carriage bolt provided in this slot there, and I'm going to slide it through the bracket like so. And then put a nut and washer on the other side, and then this smaller lip up here catches the bed of the truck up here, the little flange on the rail of the truck bed, like so. And we'll put the bolt, carriage bolt through, like so. Then we get the provided washer, get it on there, and then the nut, the nylon locking washer, put it on next. Slide it up there, hold it on, make sure it's on my mark that I made right here, and we should be good to go. Okay, so that's a 9/16 socket. Most people use an impact wrench, but I'll just do it the hard way. I'm going to have to get a deep socket because that's going to be a long bolt. I already got my 9/16 long socket, so the bolt can go through there, and then I'll get this bracket up where it needs to go, tight to the bottom of this. Just snug tight because I need to move things around a little bit. Okay, so that's snug tight. That way I can slide it to get it on my mark. Right there. And then I can tighten everything else up. Before I get it too tight, I'm going to do the other side. So far so good. Now I want to get the tonneau cover in there and make sure my clamps are good. And then I'll proceed my way out of the bed of the truck. Alright, I set the tonneau cover in there. I haven't clamped it down yet. I just want to make sure that it's all lined up and where it needs to go before I climb under there and clamp it down. But when it's clamped down, that seal will seal it on that Billie Bar bracket, and that allows me to keep the top on with the bracket and still have the rail to attach stuff to. Pretty excited about how that's turning out. I'm going to climb underneath and make sure those brackets don't conflict with each other underneath. Clamp it down, then I'll fold this tri-fold back, and I'll do the same thing for this rail that I got to put in here. Alright, well that turned out good. Got the Billie Bar bracket right there, and then this clamp will come in right beside it, underneath that same lip right there. And I can clamp it down until that gap is sealed. Looks like my gap is starting to seal up a little bit. Okay, now on the other side. All right, now this side. Then I can tighten it up. All right, I'm gonna clamp those down both sides until that seals up good. All right, I got those clamped up. Just a little bit of daylight through that crack right there. All right, well, that's that little gap. You can see into the bed of the truck right there a little bit. I'll just slip a piece of gasket in there. And again, right there. Or otherwise, this cover seals up nicely. All right, I'll get this middle section clamped down before I proceed on. So it just goes under there and clamps. This carder pin goes in there and holds it so it doesn't come out. Okay, for this next one I don't have to measure it. I can just fold it down and mark it. Right there, right there. Alright, now I'm going to pre-assemble this rear bracket, Billie Bar brackets, get it all on, install where it needs to go, both ends, and then I'll set it in the truck and I'll do the measurement, deduct the 9 inches like I did before, make sure I'm in the right spot, and make sure that I'm not interfering with my tonneau cover clamps. Alright, I got that one pre-assembled. So 4.5 is 9 inches. So again, 9 inches off, I'm going to measure the width. 72.25 minus 9 is 63.25. That's what I need between the bed. Looks like that's about 63 1/8 right there. So that's about where that bracket needs to be. It's right in line with this trifold. And it's not going to interfere with this clamp because it's going to be out here. So we should be good to go. I'm going to lay that Billie Bar in place and double check it. Alright, looks like it's a nice snug fit right where it is right there. Doesn't interfere with anything other than I need to get that top down before I clamp the clamp on. Okay, I want this bar or this bracket to be parallel again. So I'm going to measure from there to the hole here, and it looks like a 14.5. Make sure I'm at that on this side as well. 14.5. Okay, so I'm going to clamp that down, and then I'll take this bar off, and I'll put the cover down and put the bar back on. But for now, the bar is holding the clamps where they need to be, or holding the brackets where they need to be. All right, well there they are, Billie Bars installed. Ready to mount stuff to the top of them. And I was able to clear all the cover clamps, Billie Bar brackets. They were able to have their own spot without conflicting with each other. So that turned out pretty good. All right, well that's a success. That's how those Billie Bars went in for me. It might be a little different for your truck if you order those as well, but anyway, pretty excited to start mounting stuff on that, especially the tent that I have here behind me that came in the mail today. And we'll hopefully get out on some adventures and test these babies out. I got this truck slider attachment I put on this morning as well, so that's working out good. We're ready to go. Catch you on the next one.